Today's top stories. The AFP vows to prove that militant rights group Karapatan is using a fake advocacy as a front of the communist movement. The PNP expresses support for President Duterte's plan to suspend the implementation of the motorcycle crime prevention law. Sugar policymakers deny reports of an impending increase in sugar prices. And Phoenix Petroleum and Rain or Shine advance to the Philippine Basketball Association Philippine Cup semifinals.
Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. The Armed Forces of the Philippines snapped at militant rights group Karapatan for using its advocacies and taking money from other countries to attack the government. The AFP maintains that it can prove its connections as legal front of the communist movement. More on this from Benj Bondo.
The military says foreign organizations will no longer believe in the fake advocacy being promoted by Karapatan once it proves to the world that the group is a front organization of the communist movement. Armed Forces Deputy Chief of Staff Major General Antonio Parlade Jr. answered calls by opposition lawmakers in the Makabayan bloc to stop red tagging the group. Bayan Muna Representative Carlos Zarate claimed Parlade was doing a disservice to Filipinos by believing that progressive people's organizations such as Karapatan launched a fake human rights advocacy to collect donations from other countries. Parlade said the latter was the one which made a disservice to Filipinos by exaggerating figures on people killed in the war on drugs and by painting any sitting government as an oppressor and tyrant and a violator of human rights. Parlade challenged the Makabayan bloc to a televised public debate to prove that the group is not a front organization of the Communist Party of the Philippines. He said he has long challenged groups like Karapatan and Ibon Foundation to a public debate, but they never accepted his dare. Meanwhile, Malacanang slammed Karapatan's recent remarks that the government committed summary execution of farmers during the incident in Negros Oriental. Presidential spokesperson Salvador Panelo reiterated that the police officers were there to conduct legitimate operations. He urged the public not to be swayed by leftist propaganda. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Benj Bondo.
Authorities seized a total of 5.27 billion pesos worth of shabu in the first quarter of the year, the highest volume in the country's drug law enforcement history. Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency Director General Aaron Aquino said in the first quarter of 2019, the agency seized a total of 776 kilos of shabu. This surpassed a combined seizure of 672 kilograms of shabu worth from the first quarters of 2009 to 2018. Aquino said the record is the result of the series of bulk volume of shabu seizure in Cavite, Muntinlupa, and Manila. The PDEA chief said the record of over 2,000 anti-drug operations conducted and 2,818 drug personalities arrested for the period are also the highest since 2009. Aquino also cited the strengthened cooperation, collaboration, and coordination by PDEA with foreign counterparts. The Department of Transportation, or DOT, is eyeing the transfer of flights to Sangli Point in Cavite within the year amid ongoing rehabilitation of the Danilo Atienza Air Base. DOTR Undersecretary for Aviation Manuel Tamayo said the rehabilitation worth 500 million pesos is expected to be completed within the year. Among the improvements is the lengthening of the runway to 2,300 meters and the construction of hangars, the passenger terminal building, and a new tower. The DOTR intends to develop the airbase into an airport for business jets and low-cost carriers to decongest air traffic at the Ninoy Aquino International Airport. The Cavite provincial government submitted a proposal to the National Economic Development Authority last year to add 2 runways at the former U.S. Naval Base through a partnership with a Chinese firm. The Cavite government is eyeing to raise 200 billion pesos through bond issuance to finance the Sangli Airport proposal. A senator has thumbed down calls to launch a Senate investigation of the viral video accusing presidential son Paulo Duterte of involvement in the illegal drug trade. The viral video featuring a certain Bicoy claimed Duterte's involvement based on several financial records of drug syndicates in southern Luzon and Visayas. Senator Coco Pimentel said he doubts the veracity of Bicoy's statement, saying these could be easily fabricated. He said the Senate will only waste its time and resources in paying attention to the matter. Pimentel also advised the public not to readily believe everything they see online. He said President Duterte's critics and opponents may have been behind the video. Malacanang slams calls by 5 U.S. senators on the cases of Senator Laila de Lima and Rappler CEO Maria Ressa. And a bomb is dug out during dredging operations in Manila Bay. More on these and other news around the metro from Rom Dulfo.
Malacanang has shrugged off a resolution filed by 5 U.S. senators to release Senator Laila de Lima and drop the charges against Rappler and its CEO Maria Ressa. The resolution by Senators Edwin Markey, Marco Rubio, Richard Durbin, Marsha Blackburn, and Chris Coons also condemned the administration's war on drugs. Presidential spokesperson Sal Panelo said all of the cases are being heard in court. He said resolution is an affront to the sovereignty of the country and no foreign power can dictate how the government addresses crimes. Meanwhile, workers have dug out a vintage bomb during dredging operations in Manila Bay near the U.S. Embassy. DPWH personnel contacted police upon the discovery of the bomb for technical assistance. The bomb was identified as an 81mm illuminating round. The Manila Police District has retrieved the bomb for disposal. In other news, the Department of Public Works and Highways, or DPWH, led the turnover of the Wawang Pulo and Coloong pumping stations to the city government of Valenzuela. The pumping stations are expected to be a long-term solution for the flooding in Barangay Pulo and other parts of the city. Meantime, the city government is implementing the Valenzuela Obando Mekawayan Flood Control Infrastructure Project. This involves the construction of a flood control wall in Valenzuela and Obando in Bulacan, the silting of Mekawayan River, and installation of submersible pumps. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Rom Dulfo.
Still to come, the PNP expresses support for President Duterte's plan to suspend the implementation of the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Law. Sugar policymakers deny reports of an impending increase in sugar prices. More on these when the PNA Newsroom continues.
The Environment, Tourism and Interior Departments recommended to close Boracay for 6 months
to address issues such as illegal structures and faulty drainage systems that is affecting Boracay's prized beach.
The last time na nandito is 2017. It's actually crowded. Sobrang dami ng tao. Everywhere, makikita mo talaga bars and drinks and masamahalat talaga.
We had more cases of skin disease. We had more cases of diarrhea.
So nagkasama-sama lahat ng mga agencies, tiningnan ano ba ang plano natin sa Boracay, compliance on Clean Air Act, Clean Water Act, at saka yung ating environmental compliance.
When they started demolishing, we saw that there was action, that they put their money where their mouth is.
Lahat ng nagamit na tubig ng customer, we collect it through our sewer lines and then it goes through a treatment process sa treatment plant.
It was nice that it happened. Finally, Boracay got the attention it is in deep need of.
I think a lot of work was done during the closure. The water is clear, the oceans are clean, there seems to be a lot of wildlife returning. We had for the first time in 10 years, we had turtles hatching on the beach a couple of days ago.
During the closure, you could see like the eagles came back and everything that we have had for a long time.
Pumasyal pa nga yung mga kondito udanding, galing na Cebu.
In the end, it's a good thing, yes. It was hard for us, but it was also a wake-up call.
The beach was cleaned up and is officially set to reopen on October 26th.
Wala nang kumakain sa beach, bawal nang manigarilyo.
Gumanda yung isla namin as in bumalik sa dati na ambience.
We teach kids about pollution, solid waste management, because they're the ones who will sustain all the things that we're doing now.
The Philippine National Police expressed support for the decision of President Rodrigo Duterte to suspend the Motorcycle Crime Prevention Act. PNP spokesperson Bernard Banag lauded the president for hearing the side of the affected motorcycle riding community. He said the PNP expects a better implementation of the law once all issues with the concerned sectors are ironed out. Senator J.V. Ejercito also supported the suspension of the motorcycle law. Ejercito said he discussed with the president and several rider groups during the 25th National Federation of Motorcycle Clubs of the Philippines National Motorcycle Convention in Iloilo City. Meanwhile, the president of the Lawyers for Commuter Safety and Protection hailed President Rodrigo Duterte for hearing the concerns of motorcycle riders. The commuters group, however, asked how the law managed to pass through Congress without scrutiny. Policymakers have finally signed the implementation rules and regulations of Republic Act 11203, or the Rice Tariffication Law, paving the way to cheaper rice. The National Economic and Development Authority, Department of Agriculture, and Department of Budget and Management signed the final draft of the IRR earlier approved by the National Food Authority Council. Among the salient provisions are guidelines on the President's powers and the enforcement of safeguard measures in case of emergency situations like the sudden rise and drop in domestic prices. The IRR also provides guidance on the reorganization of the NFA. The NFA Council will likewise commission a study that will determine NFA's optimal buffer stock for emergency and relief purposes. The IRR also details the establishment of the Rice Competitiveness Enhancement Fund worth 10 billion pesos. Similarly, it sets the guidelines on the allocation of tariff revenues, which will then be tapped to provide direct financial assistance to rice farmers adversely affected by the new rice import regime. The Sugar Regulatory Administration has seen no reason to increase the prices of sugar. SRA Administrator Hermenegildo Serafica said the country has a stock balance of 1.1 million metric tons, or 143% compared to last year. Serafica said there had been only small withdrawals in sugar mills, so most are still fully stocked. Millgate prices remain between 1,450 and 1,550 pesos for the past 5 years, while prices of sugar are also currently low. Meanwhile, over 133,000 metric tons of sugar are still untouched. Serafica suspects that someone may be spreading news of a price hike to be able to manipulate the market. Authorities recovered about 40 blocks of suspected cocaine off the coast of Burgos in Surigao del Norte. Fishermen reportedly found the blocks floating at sea Sunday afternoon. Burgos police said the blocks resembled those previously found in Barangay Pacifico, San Isidro town. The cocaine blocks will be turned over to the provincial crime lab offices for analysis. PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde earlier said the cocaine recently recovered at the country's eastern seaboard is part of a 500-kilo shipment disposed at the Pacific Ocean near Solomon Islands last September, which found its way to Philippine territory. The BFAR warns of the spread of red tide in 2 provinces in the Davao region. Meanwhile, the chief of police of Coronadal City is sacked over a viral video of his personnel. More on these and other stories from the provinces from Miguel Hill.
The Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources has raised the red tide alert over Balite Bay in Mati City, Davao Oriental, and the coastal waters of Santa Maria, Davao Occidental. The BFAR has prohibited the catching, sale and consumption of shellfish in the affected areas. Other areas in Western Samar, Surigao del Sur, and Dayus and Tagbiliran City in Bohol are also affected by the red tide. In Coronadal City, the Police Regional Office 12 ordered the relief of Coronadal Chief of Police Kirby Bajo. This after a viral video showed Bajo's personnel drinking and gambling inside the police station. Bajo had admitted that the policemen in the video were having some recreation. President Rodrigo Duterte and PNP Chief Oscar Albayalde earlier ordered to prohibit police from drinking in public places. In Surigao del Sur, the municipality of Tagbina declared the CPP, NPA, NDF and its front organizations as persona non grata. During the Municipal Peace and Order Council meeting led by Tagbina Mayor Generoso Naraiso, all barangay heads unanimously approved the resolution against the communist groups. Tagbina is the first municipality in Surigao del Sur to make the resolution, being a victim of the atrocities of the NPA terrorists such as harassment and extortion. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
Up next, the PCOO launches a program connecting officials of the executive branch with the media. Phoenix Petroleum and Rain or Shine advance to the PBA Philippine Cup semifinals. The PNA Newsroom returns after these reminders.
Welcome to Caraga region, where a fusion of rustic scenery and modern technology brings you to seemingly new dimension of heaven on earth. Where winding roads and strong bridges are engineering masterpieces that transport travelers and adventurers from a glorious past to a universal future. Where bountiful waters offer food and recreations. Where colossal highlands are welcoming homes. Where people are one with nature. Children to the earth. Brothers and sisters to all. This is the vision. This is the mission. This is the commitment made possible and a promise fulfilled by the government for its people in Caraga.
Siyempre yung may malasakit sa taong bayan, siyempre yung hindi lang siya pag ngayong halalan, dun lang siya magaling, pangiti-ngiti, then pag nakaupo na sa pwesto, wala nang care sa kung ano man yung tulong na hinihinging tulong ng mamayan.
Tapat sa serbisyo, kaya niyang gampanan yung trabaho niya.
Ganon din po. Ganon din. Tapat sa serbisyo sila sa mga tao. Kaya naghihirap na ngayong panahon, kailangan tapat sila.
Walang halong politika yung mga pinangangako nila. Yun lang naman yung kailangan natin sa Pilipinas.
Yung makatulong sa taong bayan. Especially yung mga tumingin sa pinanggalingan niya, lalo na mahirap.
Matalino. Pwedeng tayo lahat ay pantay-pantay. Mabigyan lahat ng trabaho.
Yung pwedeng pagkatiwalaan at yung may interest sa publiko, makakatulong. Pati yung isa pa, yung kakayahan, paging leader.
The Presidential Communications Operations Office launched the Presser Weekend to fight disinformation by connecting top officials of the executive branch with the media. Presidential Communications Secretary Martin M. Andanar led the launching of the pilot episode in Muntinlupa City. In his opening remarks, he said government work is delivered without fancy propaganda. Andanar reiterated that the PCOO is committed to fight and correct disinformation by extolling the truth. Andanar also announced that the PCOO will launch soon the virtual presser, which caters to foreign media or journalists based abroad. The virtual presser is led by the Office of the Global Media Affairs. The pilot episode of the Presser Weekend showcased the accomplishments and updates on the projects of the Department of Transportation with Secretary Arthur Tugade. The Department of Justice has ordered a probe of the social media post of cash-strapped businessman Cian Gaza on his supposed evasion of authorities. Justice spokesperson Mark Perete said they are verifying the post and have asked the Bureau of Immigration or BI to look into the said issue. The BI has dismissed Gaza's social media post by Gaza as a publicity hoax. Immigration spokesperson Dana Sandoval said his act of booking numerous flights will not help evade police. Sandoval said Gaza had no derogatory record when he left, so he was cleared for departure. The spokesperson pointed out that once a person has a hit for an existing hold departure order or warrant of arrest, he or she will immediately be barred from flying out of the country. In a Facebook post, Gaza described how he was supposedly able to leave the country despite having 3 pending arrest warrants and after being sentenced to 5 years in prison on September 30 last year. In sports, top seed Phoenix Pulse and Rain or Shine have advanced to the semifinals of the PBA Philippine Cup. The Fuel Masters outplayed the Aces throughout the game to nail a first-ever PBA semifinal entry. Jason Perkins fired away a career-high 31 points to lead Phoenix to a first playoff win in franchise history. Calvin Abueva came through with a double-double with 12 points and 11 rebounds, while Matthew Wright contributed 14 markers for the winning team. Meanwhile, the Rain or Shine Elasto Painters struggled with a slow start before overwhelming Northport Batang pair to get a semi-final spot. It took Ray Nambatak, who made 14 points, to spark a searing run that turned the game around for Rain or Shine. Ed Dakiwag complemented Nambatak with a team-high 15 points, while Bo Belga added 13. One Bataan will join Pasig in the FIBA 3x3 World Tour in Doha after making the finals of the Chooks to Go 3x3 Asia Pacific Super Quest at the SM Mega Mall Fashion Hall in Mandaluyong City on Sunday. The Risers punch a seat to the Doha tournament after beating the Jakarta West Bandits in the semifinals. The quartet of Alvin Pasaol, Santi Santillan, Carl Dehesa, and Travis Franklin, however, fell short to 3x3 EXE Premier of Japan in the championship game on a last-minute deuce from Keita Suzuki. Also known as Tokyo Dime, EXC Premier made its way to the World Tour as well after eliminating the other Filipino team in the tournament in Pasig City. The Kings already clinched a spot in the World Tour after winning the Chooks to Go Pilipinas 3x3 President's Cup. The Philippines celebrates the 77th Araw ng Kagitingan tomorrow, April 9. In Bataan, tourists take notice of the numerous markers that remind everyone of the valor of Filipino soldiers in World War II. Janice Cave has this report.
All roads lead to the Mount Samat Shrine in Pilar Town, Bataan on Tuesday for the observance of the 77th Araw ng Kagitingan or Day of Valor when Bataan fell on April 9, 1942. This province abounds with historical markers and monuments lining the MacArthur Highway from the boundary of Pampanga and Bataan, which depict the sacrifices and bravery of Filipino soldiers along with their American counterparts during World War II. The Bataan and Democracy marker in Barangay Balsik is the first marker that marked the sad news that the peninsula had fallen in defense of democracy. There are 138-kilometer Death March markers with 100 in Bataan, 31 in Pampanga, and 7 in Tarlac. 2 0-kilometer Death March monuments stand in Mariveles and Bagak, where thousands of Filipino and American soldiers started their grueling march to Capas, Tarlac. 2-century-year-old trees, an acacia tree in Abukay and a sampalok tree in Pilar stood as witnesses to the horrors of war and the dreaded Death March. Meanwhile, the Filipino-Japanese Friendship Tower in Bagak shows that two rivals can still be friends and forget the past. From a distance, on top of Mount Samat, the giant War Memorial Cross can be seen. A close look inside will show the War Memorial Shrine where annual Araw ng Kagitingan rites are held every April 9 of the year. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cave.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Let's take another look at today's biggest stories.
The AFP vows to prove that militant rights group Karapatan is using a fake advocacy as a front of the communist movement. The PNP expresses support for President Duterte's plan to suspend the implementation of the motorcycle crime prevention law. Sugar policymakers deny reports of an impending increase in sugar prices. And Phoenix Petroleum and Rain or Shine advance to the Philippine Basketball Association Philippine Cup semifinals.
Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I am William Theo. Good day.